The doctor's eyes filled with fear as he watched her calmly walk away to greet the security man. His last night ever, his last ever sight would be watching her feast on them one by one. The female doctor who survived the incident named her the Expressionless. There was never a sight of her again. Well, actually, I'm gonna read one more. I mean, there's no more, but let me read something. Well, here's a few more. The Black Angel of Oakwood Cemetery. We've already reported on the striking Black Eagle statue that haunts Iowa City's Oakland Cemetery. The Black Angel is said to possess the power to kill anyone who kisses or in the same case touches it, but its stage history bears repeating in its list. The bronze statue is said to have turned black overnight, though the supposed reasons vary, from a lightning strike to a mark of its owner's infinity. Whatever the case, the shadow of the Black Angel statue makes a chilling monument indeed. The grave in the parking lot. Mary Ellis was buried in 1828 in the Ellis family plot. Ellis family plot on a wooded hillside overlooking the Raritan River in New Brunswick, New Jersey. The story of her life was a sad one. Apparently, she had fallen in love with the sea captain who had promised to come back and marry her. Alas, the captain never returned. Mary never let go of the memory of her lost love. Upon her death, she was buried at the spot where she waited faithfully for her lover to return. Nearly 200 years later, she's still there, though now the surrounding land has been turned into a parking lot for a series of retail outlets. Most recently, an AMC theater and the famous Dave's restaurant. Ever since the area was regraded for parking, the grave, undisturbed and surrounded by a chain link fence, has stood atop a 7-foot high pedestal of earth in the middle of the lot. The grave in the middle of the road. Country Road 400 in Indiana has long taken an odd detour around the grave of Nancy Bonnet, whose relatives didn't want her grave disturbed when the country decided to put the road through the area surrounding her burial plot. After a tense standoff, the country ultimately split the road, with the lane running on either side of her grave. It became a tourist landmark, recently took one more mysterious quality. However, when archaeologists exhumed the grave and found the remains of at least 6 other people, a total of 2 women, one of whom was presumably Nancy Bonnet, a man, and 4 children, whose origins and identities remain unknown. Victim of the beast. At a glance, the grave of Lily E. Gray in Salt Lake City, Utah looks fairly unassuming. Yet beneath the name and the date of her birth and death is a mysterious and sinister inscription, Victim of the Beast 666. While such an inscription seems like it must carry one whopper of a story, nobody seems to know what it is. Though the graveyard which the stone resists is filled with other tall tales, including the legend of Emma's grave, supposedly the resting place of a serial killer, a monster or child molester who can be summoned by walking around the grave 3 times. No one seems to know much about Lily E. Gray or the strange legend carved into her stone, the Jewett City Vampires. In the old Jewett City Cemetery of Griswold, Connecticut, you can still find a line of largely nondescript tombstones dating from the 1840s and 1850s. Though not much to look at, These tombstones tell a strange story indeed. Beginning in the late 1840s, Henry Way and three of his adult sons all died within a few years of mysterious wasting illness that was probably tuberculosis. At the time, however, it was believed to be the work of vampires, and at least two of the bodies were exhumed and buried on the spot. This event found its way to the papers of the time, leaving the family known as the Jewett City Vampires. The moving caskets of the Chase Vault. In 1812, the City Chase Vault in Barbados was opened for the burial of Thomas Chase. Three of his female relatives had already been laid to rest inside the vault. Afterward, it was sealed with concrete and left undisturbed. And yet, when the vault was opened for Thomas Chase, the coffins were found in a confused state, having been apparently tossed from their places. The vault was opening again later for the burial of an infant, and once again the same phenomenon was discovered. Each time, the coffins were placed back in their resting places. Yet each time caretakers reopened the vault, the coffins were found in disarray. The story goes that this continued until all the coffins were finally removed from the vault and buried elsewhere in 1820. The vault has remained unsealed and untenanted ever since. Well, maybe just one more story. 1. The Jersey Watcher. When Derek and Marama Boadas purchased the home in Westfield, New Jersey, pictured above, they believed they had found the dream house, a place where they could comfortably raise their 3 children. They couldn't have been more wrong. Within 3 days of closing on the home, they received a chilling letter from someone calling themselves the Watcher. The anonymous author claimed to come from a long line of people with a keen interest in the Boadas' new home. My grandfather watched the house in the 1920s, and my father watched it in the 1960s. It is now my time. Wow. Jude, the cell phone stalkers. Getting a threatening phone call from a stranger was terrifying. But for 3 Washington State families in 2007, the calls became unnervingly personal. The families received calls at all hours of the night, with threats made against their families and pets. It seemed as if the anonymous tormentors were watching quite closely and listening in as well. Voicemails arrived, playing records of the family's private conversations, including one with a police detective. One family member's cell phone would send text messages to friends by itself. The caller knew where the families were, what they were doing, and what they were wearing. Once, when one of the victims was at home slicing limes, a call came in front of a restricted number, and the voice on the other end said it preferred lemons. When the calls were traced, they led back to the family's old phones. Authorities and cell phone providers were flummoxed by the reports. We're not exactly sure what is being done to these phones, says spokesman Matt Sullivan. Electronic surveillance experts noticed the ease with which cell phones could be hijacked, while others suggest the calls might be coming from inside the house. EI, a disgruntled family member. 3. The Demon House of India. Evil children are a family trope in horror movies, but finding possessed tykes in a police report is far more rare. The trouble started when Ataya Ammons and her children moved into a rented home in Gary, India in November 2011. Paranormal encounters followed suit. There were ghostly shadows, phantom dog parks, physical attacks by invisible beings, and a mysterious oil that seemed to drip off furniture. Then, in April 2012, a demonic force attacked Latoya's 7-year-old son during a visit with the family physician. After being thrown across the room, the boy, in front of nurses, social workers. Well, sorry, bye.